Let's now turn to the advisory. Our next guest saying that advisors aren't fighting for AI, but are more so being asked to use it. So is AI narrowing the advice gap, or perhaps is it widening as a result? Well, Andrew Whelan joining us from Dash Technology Group, where is the CEO. Andrew, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
So AI seems to creep into every conversation at the moment, doesn't it? I see you saying that 2/3 of advisors' fund under administration are expected to be lost in the coming decade.
It could be, yeah. So Core Data have put out some pretty startling research in the last couple of weeks that suggests that 66% of all advice FUA or funds under administration are potentially under threat from the wealth transfer. So with the ageing population and baby boomers passing down their wealth to the next generation, which, you know, advisors have lots of tools to potentially guard against this, but it's a bit of an existential threat that we're facing into, both advisors, but not only advisors, the entire advice ecosystem, including big listed platforms, you know, that dominate the industry and have been, you know, well invested in over the last decade.
So are you saying the recipients of that wealth transfer, the millennials, for instance, more likely to turn to AI rather than actually seek advice from human advisors?
Well, yeah, and it depends. They are. What we're seeing, the research is really clear on this fact, is advisors are still critical for the formulation of investment portfolios today and for the strategies to minimise tax, which they've been great at for years. But what AI has been really heavily used for is in more simple things like budgeting. So there's so much, millions has been poured into budgeting apps and dashboards and screen scraping from banks to pull it all together, to put insights together. But now you can really just take a bank statement, take off some names, put it into Excel, upload it into a chat GPT or something similar. There's a myriad of options now, and it will provide you insights, sometimes for free and immediately.
So there's been a bit of... what's the problem been there? Why haven't the advisors sort of kept up, or have they been a bit slack in terms of trying to use AI effectively?
Well, the advisors have actually themselves have been using AI. They've been adopting it rapidly. The issue for advisors is more from the technology perspective is it's an efficiency generator, but they're going to reach a cap soon if technologies service companies like ourselves don't integrate it into their workflow more efficiently. But I think what's interesting is there is a potential real value destroyer coming, where the industry has invested heavily into budgeting apps and dashboards and what will soon look like legacy technology. All of those sort of dashboard-centric and data integration-centric technology will soon just be replaced by AI, which you can just ask specific questions.
But is this all about finding greater efficiencies?
Everything's always about finding greater efficiencies, because the advice gap has widened further recently. Only 1 in 10 Australians get advice, 6 in 10 Australians get mortgage advice. So there is a clear gap there, and AI has a massive role to play in it. And that's why advisors are rapidly adopting it. But down in the technology space and the listed platform space, this is a potential threat that we need to respond to.
Yeah, so how do you turn that around then, narrow that gap, particularly with the use of AI?
Well, I think we've got to adopt it, and we've got to adopt it in a really with a security lens. So this is the only thing the only 2 items in my view that are reducing or minimising the uptake at the moment is some fears around security, and the super sector had just very recently gone under a concerted cybersecurity attack. So everybody needs to be very clear on where the data is residing, and then integration into the workflow. So there's only so much efficiency gains you can achieve if you have to rekey information down various paths. So I think AI is a really important component in closing the advice gap. But for now, it is actually a bit of a threat, particularly to the legacy platform and technology space that's been serving advisors to this point.
What about in terms of assets, of how this landscape's changing at the moment and the use of different assets and so on?
Yeah, well, I think this is one of the things that investment platforms that serve advisors could do to defend against this threat, is rather than just focusing on the typical retail, traditional custodial assets, what we're seeing is advisors have been looking for when markets are choppy or they're capped out in terms from a value perspective, they're looking at alternative assets. And historically, platforms haven't been very good at managing them and integrating them into the client portfolio system and the client portals. But businesses like Dash have been really good at extending the platform and bringing in non-custodial assets. And if there's $1 trillion of advisor custodial platform funds or administration, our experience suggests that there could be even more than that off platform that advisors are managing, and they're doing it manually and inefficiently. And I think AI and non-custodial platforms that can bring that in could be the real answer to this wealth transfer problem.
What are you hearing from clients, particularly I guess younger clients, the millennials and so on, that may have invested in traditional assets such as equities, and they've seen what has gone on in the past month or two? Is that
do you know what it's
made them question what they're doing?
Yeah. So do you know what's really interesting is the ones that are in the hands of advisors have been well coached to try not to. Don't panic. Yeah. And the clients that are in the hands of advisors are really good at staying the course. But the ones that are not, what's really fascinating is what we've seen with some of our partners and peers in the industry that are running broking houses, is that this volatility has actually driven a lot of people that are backing themselves to be able to buy the dip. So you're seeing really big spikes in non-advised broking houses opening accounts. So it's a kind of a disparate, you see sort of the calm, stay the course response from clients of advisors, and then you see people who are doing it themselves, and there's a bit of a frenzy on at the moment in terms of trading volumes picking up and accounts being opened over the last month. So,
but a high risk?
Well, potentially, yeah. If you know what you're doing,
well, that's the point. That's the point, isn't it? That's seeking advice. Yeah.
Exactly, but if you don't know what you're doing, then you obviously it's very difficult to choose when the dip is.
Are you seeing any trend from the millennials who are simply relying on AI, say, okay, what should I be buying? What stock should I be buying? I mean, I know that sounds simple, but inevitably, and we've seen this with finfluencers too, making it sound very easy.
They are. The finfluencers, and the finfluencers have been a real problem for the last, I'm going to say 10 years with social media picking that up, and it's even in ASIC's gaze at the moment. So ASIC have picked that up, and they're really wanting to clamp down in Australia. It's far bigger and more prevalent problem in the States and in Europe, but there isn't a clear trend of what we don't see AI yet being excellent at stock picking and analysing the mathematical models. It's far the most prevalent and most heavily used AI tools are natural language models, so they're much better at writing templates and building things that are more language driven. So we don't see like a massive uptick in AI chosen portfolios, and as an advice facing business, we feel a bit uncomfortable with a very difficult to audit piece of technology being used in such a highly regulated space, like around superannuation. That feels like risk.
Do you think it's a matter of time though? I mean, it clearly coming down, it's only as good as what you put in.
100%. I think there's already ones out there that claim they can do it. We have not seen from our lens at Dash that's become really prevalent, and that we certainly aren't getting any advisors that are looking to augment their business with an AI generated stock picking stock picking application. But you're right, it is only a matter of time till something comes up and it gets used. The issue that we foresee, particularly in the hands of advisors who have been facing into heavy regulation, is it's very difficult to go back 2 years and try to understand what the AI system did to make a recommendation if there was ever a complaint. So that is going to be a very difficult chasm to bridge around just the sheer regulation that advisors face into. But in the direct-to-consumer space, it could be a ticking time bomb, or it could be a real game changer. But we're yet to see.
That sounds a little ominous.
Well, it reeks of risk to me.